Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. I did this at the end of class yesterday, but I wanted to make sure you had a couple examples today when you're doing your assignment. So the examples I'm going to do today are just like the ones that are on your assignment. So you can either take notes on this as I go so you have a model when you go to do the assignment, or you can have the assignment in front of you and pause the video and then do a few problems on the assignment. However you want to do it is fine, but make sure you're ready to go before you continue on with this video. Okay, so this first example is talking about writing the equation of a line that passes through the point 6, 1 and is parallel to the line y equals 7x minus 2. Yesterday we talked about parallel and perpendicular lines, and we said that if we have parallel lines, their slopes are equal. Okay, so all I need to do is figure out the slope here, and the slope is what's ever in front of x. So my slope here is 7. Because the slope of the given line is 7, that means the slope of my line is also going to be 7. So I know that my slope is going to be 7. And the reason that is because of this word parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope or equal slopes. So since this slope is 7, my slope is going to be 7. I also have a point. They told me I go through the point 6, 1. So I have the two pieces of information I need to write the equation of my line. Remember the formula for writing an equation of a line when you have a point and the slope is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Here is your x1 and y1, so I'm just going to substitute those values in. So I have y minus y1, which is 1, is equal to my m value, which is 7, times x minus my x1 value, which is 6. That is the equation of my line in point-slope form. Now, you can continue on with this and put it into the form of y equals, and sometimes if it's a multiple choice problem, they'll do that. They'll give you the wording the same exact way, but then the 4 choices won't look anything like this. The 4 choices will be y equals something and y equals something. And so you might think, oh, I did it wrong because my equation doesn't look like any of the choices. The only thing you have to do then is solve this for y to get it in the format of the choices. So let me show you how you would do that. We talked about this before. We said just to solve it for y, we just have to do 2 steps. We first have to distribute. So I have y minus 1 is equal to 7x minus 42. Okay, and then add the 1 to both sides to move it over. And so we end up with y is equal to 7x minus 41. Okay, so if they don't give you choices in this format, then you just have to solve it for y and get it into that format. Okay, let's try another one. In this one, very similar to the last problem, in this one, we're going through the point -4, 9, and we are parallel to this line. Again, parallel lines have equal slopes or the same slope. The slope is what's in front of x. So since the slope of the given line is -2/5, the slope of my line is also going to be -2/5. My point is -4, 9. So here's my x1 and y1. And so I'm just going to substitute in y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. I'm just going to substitute those values in. So I have y minus 9 is equal to -2/5 times x minus, now watch closely, I have -4 for x. So I have x minus negative 4. Okay, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So I would write that as y minus 9 is equal to negative 2/5 times x plus 4. And again, you can leave it like this unless they tell you otherwise, or unless they give you multiple choice options that are in the form of y equals, then you would just have to solve this. But otherwise, you can leave it as is. Okay, let's do a couple of examples where we have perpendicular lines. So in this case, here's my point, and they're telling me that it's perpendicular to this given line. Remember with perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite reciprocals or negative reciprocals, meaning you have to flip it and change the sign. So since the slope of this line is 3/4, the slope of my line is going to be negative because I have to change the sign and then I have to flip the fraction. So it's going to be negative 4/3. My point is 2, 5. So here's my x1 and here's my y1. So my equation is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And again, I'm just going to substitute in. So I have y minus 5 is equal to negative 4/3 times x minus 2. And that's it. That's your whole problem. Okay, so the difference with perpendicular is that you have to flip the slope and change the sign. Okay, let's try one more. Again, I have a point, and they're telling me I'm perpendicular to this line. Here is my slope, negative 3. Remember that negative 3, or any positive or negative number when there isn't a denominator, you can write it as that number over 1. Which means, because it's perpendicular, I have to take that, change the sign, so my slope is now going to be positive, and then I have to flip that fraction. So my slope is going to be 1/3. My point is negative 7, negative 4. And so when I plug into my formula, y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Here is my x1 and y1, so I'm just going to substitute in. So I have y minus negative 4 is equal to 1/3 times x minus negative 7. Okay, and again, we're just going to clean that up. I have y plus 4 is equal to 1/3 times x plus 7. And you can leave it just like that. Okay, everybody, so remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. Slopes. You got to flip it and change the sign. Okay, hopefully that helps. There's 6 problems on your assignment. You can use these as models to do those problems. And I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.